Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is going to be kind of a video that's just going to be me talking. I'm not going to be showing too many books, sorry, but I just wanted to reach out to other channels and basically say which channels I'm actually interested in collaborating with in 2022. So I wanted to also thank some of the channels that I've collaborated in 2021. So with that being said, here are some channels that I collaborated with in 2021. CapN Comics, really great guy. He's really into these pirate puns. Really interesting guy. Recommend you check out his channel. I'm gonna link all of these channels, like even the ones that I hope to hope to connect with. I'm gonna link them all in my description because they're all really great channels. Like they all deserve like a subscription, or you should follow these channels. They're all really great. Okay, so thanks to CapN Comics first. He was actually the first guy that actually collaborated with me, so I have to give him an extra little thanks. Next is Keston, old school comics. We collaborate every so often. I'd love to collaborate some more with any of these people. So yeah, Keston, he has really great stuff. He's got sort of like the great golden age mega grail books, and not just that, but they're in high grade. So I have some mega grails, I must admit, but they're not in high grade. His stuff is just these are mega grails plus they're in high grade, so doubly great. And he really gets into, he has really great knowledge as well. The next guy is Dave Collects Yaya. I really like Dave. He's a really nice guy. He's more of a modern comic collector, so it's kind of interesting to always switch it up. Like I love talking about the golden age stuff, but I actually really do enjoy some of the modern stuff. Like there are some cool things still happening today. So I do enjoy sometimes the modern books too. So getting in touch with Dave every so often, and we do a collab every so often. It's always fun, and he brings his kids on, so I always kind of like a little bit envious of that, because I can never get my kids involved with my comic collecting. So next is Nighttiger. This guy is really great too. He's more like me in terms of the way he collects. He collects a lot more of the golden age, and he's more of what I would say a collector who really enjoys the books as the books. Like I'm a collector that loves to slab the books. He's a collector that will actually read and enjoy the books, and I can really respect that. And Nighttiger is just a really great guy and very knowledgeable. Just really next level of knowledge of comics. It's just really great guy. I recommend you check out his channel. And my the guy that I collaborate the most with in 2021 is Mark Oldroyd, and Mark is a great guy. He's like across the pond, as he would say. He's like in England, and he's just a really great guy. He loves talking about the UK price variants, and someday, Mark, I believe that those UK price variants will get their due, and I think they will be worth something. But right now, not so much. And he's probably right. Putting a lot of effort into collecting those. So I think Mark is a really knowledgeable guy, and I enjoy our Monday collab price variant show that we always do. It doesn't get as many views as I would expect because it is such a great show. It really is. It is like so much fun to do, and I really enjoy our conversations. And he really brings out some kind of cool books every so often that I'm like, wow, what is this? And I go out and shop. Go out and buy those books because he really brings out some really cool stuff. So I really enjoy conversations with Mark. And actually, I have the same influence on him. He'll end up buying the books that I recommend. So it's kind of interesting that way. So those are the ones I collaborated in 2021. And I'd love to collaborate again with them in 2022. But who are the ones that I want to collaborate with in 2022? So I made a long list. I actually have 12 names on this list. So normally people go, oh, it has to be top 10, but I have 12. So, and there's some channels that actually, they're big channels and small channels on here. And it's just ones that I personally will watch. Like these are all channels that I watch on a regular basis. And because of that, you kind of want to collaborate with those people because they're cool. Like, they're cool people. So, very first on my list is Automatic Comics, and he's actually said that he's willing to collaborate with me. So this is really my push to say, hey, let's do that a little bit sooner than later. So I'd like to collaborate with Automatic Comics. He's also a heritage auction buyer like myself, and he really gets into the numbers. Like I actually do that too, but I don't really put that information out onto my channel as much as he does, and he really breaks into the numbers, and I really enjoy that. I enjoy that perspective because it's somebody that's doing the same stuff that I'm doing. It's very geeky, and it's very it's very precise in the way you buy. And when you start getting more professional about your buying in a way, that's something that you do. You really get into the numbers and know exactly how much you should pay for that item. So especially when you're buying the bigger books, it's really good to do that. So I recommend watch his videos where he breaks down and does the analysis of his top 5 ones that succeeded and ones that kind of underpriced in terms of his expectations of what they were worth. Really great channel. So I really like to collaborate with him, talk about Golden Age books. I think he'd be great. Another one that I really enjoy his channel is Swagglehaus. Swagglehouse Comics. Just a really, he's a younger guy. I feel old because he's younger and he's like married and stuff, and he's not that young, but he's a younger guy. And he's more of a modern to Silver Age, I guess, sort of that range of comics. But he's really into the quirky characters, just like I am. Like he'll go on about Asbestos Man from from Tales of Suspense, but it's like these kind of quirky characters that he enjoys, and I kind of enjoy too. So I like quirky characters, and he'll mention those on his channel, and I enjoy that. And he kind of collects a lot more like those kind of strange characters and those keys, and he has some good insights into some key comics that people should collect and maybe spec on. So he'll and he talks about NFTs as well, so I thought that was kind of interesting. So I enjoy his channel quite a lot. So Swagglehoss, I would really love to collaborate with his channel. Another one that this is one that in a way I should almost ask him directly because I communicate with him fairly often, is Comic Book Investments. So Comic Book Investments, I've actually purchased from him multiple times. So basically his channel is really about buying and selling keys. And he will look into the numbers as well. And Comic Book Investments, Dave is the guy that runs it. I bought a whole bunch of books from him, actually, a bunch of pretty big books. I think even one of the ones behind me, the Weird Fantasy in the background there, I bought from Dave. And just a really nice guy. I just would love to collaborate with him and just shoot the breeze, because he is somebody that does something that I don't do. And what is that? It's that he will buy books and sell them, and he also buys for other people. So he's kind of like a dealer for comics, and I always kind of, it's a hard thing for me to sell my comics. Like it's really hard for me mentally to sell them. Like physically, probably I could sell them pretty quick if I ever wanted to sell them, but just to do that, really, it's not my thing. So I appreciate people that do that and like can make a business out of it. I really do think that's awesome. So I'd love to have a conversation with him. I think Dave from Comic Book Investments is another channel I'd really like to to basically shoot the breeze with. Another one that's kind of interesting, and this is kind of he's like similar to Lords of the Long Box or any of those, is Newbie Comics. And Newbie Comics is somebody who I believe he follows my channel a little bit, but he is one of those guys that he is local. He's in Canada. And there was so many times where I was like, oh, maybe I'll run into him at one of these local conventions or one of the local comic book shops. And I just thought it'd be kind of cool to, have somebody that I could, collaborate with, that I could actually meet in person and local, just somebody that's a little bit more local to me. So Newbie's Comics, he does these kind of like top 10 speculation books, and he'll review and say whether or not they're actually really good or not to speculate on. And it's a lot more of the modern books, of course, but I do, as I said, I collect everything, so I enjoy the modern stuff as well. So he is definitely one I'd love to connect with, and that's Newbie Comics. Another one is Alex the Comic Hoarder. Now, Alex was one of the first people that subscribed to my channel and kind of gave me a boost in terms of, putting me out there. And he was the one that inspired me to do my top 50 comics in my collection kind of video. So he's really one of the people that kind of inspired me to get going into this whole, YouTube thing, and, really be more aggressive about publishing every day and doing things like that. And Alex, the comic hoarder, he basically collects very similar stuff to me. So he's working on his Superman run, and he collects a lot of these good girl art covers and stuff like that. We kind of have very similar tastes in comics. So I'd really love to have a discussion with him and have him on the channel or go on his channel, whatever, and just really shoot the breeze about the comics we love. So I think, a very similar guy to me. Well, I hope so. Another one that I've been in talks with and potentially hope to do a collab with, and it's a smaller channel that he has, is Jerry the Jitterbug. Really great channel, highly underrated. Just love Jerry. He's just his channel is just really great. He really focuses on the restoration of comics and looking at how to bring back a really ugly book back to life. Something that's just falling apart in your hands, and he'll bring it back to life. And what he does when he brings it back to life is he generally will take a restored comic, something that is got that purple label, something that, we all within the industry, we don't really want to see a purple label. We always want that blue label. And he'll take that purple label and convert it to either conserved label or actual back into a blue label. And sometimes that costs a bit in the grade, but generally he's really good at unrestoring comics, if that makes sense. And he's good at like explaining how to do the process. So he'll do like leaf casting, he'll do things like removing color touch, he'll do things like cleaning and pressing, and he shows all the process. And he really gets into it. So you can actually see it's almost like watching a mad scientist in terms of he'll video document his whole process, and it's really just an interesting thing to watch. He's done 20 parts on his Hulk 181, and watching how that book has come back to life. And I commented early on when he was doing it, I was like, it's still going to get restored just because there's just too much to remove. And he's been bringing it back to life. So, I'm going to probably have to eat my eat my words on that one. But he's just a really great guy, and I like Jerry a lot. So and he's a friend of the channel. So definitely somebody I'd love to collaborate next year, and hopefully that'll happen soon. And a few others that I really enjoy, and I kind of help them with their channel in a weird way, was JB Budget Collecting. Now JB JP is basically what he does is he takes those Comic Tom lists, and he takes those Lords of the Long Box lists, and he will review how successful were they at predicting the value of those comics. How accurate are they in terms of, is it a good comic to invest in? Is it trash to be, or is it's just a dumpster fire and you shouldn't have bought that book? And he'll look at books and sort of figure out whether or not it was a good investment. And he'll do these kind of like 1 year later kind of videos, and it's really educational, and it really does show you that sometimes you gotta avoid buying into the hype and be really careful. Now I told him at the end of each video, and he actually gave me credit for this, to basically show the numbers, and I thank the fact that he thanked me for that. So JP, I really love to be on your channel and shoot the breeze about comics and which ones I thought were good comics to buy, which ones are trash, and I'd love to do that game with you. Next is Cuomo Comics. Now, I actually started following Cuomo Comics when they had less than 100 subscribers. I was like one of their early subscribers. I believe it's Chris at Cuomo Comics. And basically, he's also like, he's a comic shop owner. And so he brings that perspective into the comic market. And he's also a more Silver Age comic collector, like more of the older comics. And he really brings in a more sophisticated understanding of the whole market into the thing. And he does these kind of videos where he'll look at undervalued comics, maybe some that you can pick up for $50 or less, and ones that have that potential to be like $1,000 comic, like ones that you really have that potential to grow. And he generally is pretty good at predicting things because, it's very a professional's way of looking at those comics, not just like, oh, this is really hype, this is the hot book, like, no, it's more like looking at that from a comic book shop's perspective. So, really, I really enjoy his stuff. That's Cuomo's Comics. And there's 2 other channels. So that was my top 10 right there. Now there's 2 other channels, or actually 3 more channels that I have to mention. So I only mentioned 9 so far. And there's 3 more that I have to mention. And they're all bigger channels, much bigger than mine. So actually, a lot of these were bigger than mine. But these are 3 of the bigger channels that I'd love to just be, shoot the breeze with these people and just, talk about comics. I just love talking about comics. So it might be interesting. The first is Reggie Collects. Now, actually, I have a bit of a sad story when it comes to Reggie Collects. I enjoy his stuff. I really enjoy his perspective that he brings to comics. And I kind of hit a sore spot with him. And I did this video way back when, like a few months ago, and I was talking about Golden Age and how Golden Age comics really get a bad rap for being more racist than they really were. And I really was trying to show like a character called Steamboat that I really like. I really like Steamboat. And I was explaining how Steamboat is this character who is very much a true hero. Much more so than Captain Marvel, who he appears in. He's like sort of the sidekick to Captain Marvel. In a lot of ways, he is more the true hero than Captain Marvel. And the reason I was saying that is Captain Marvel has superpowers. So he is basically invincible. And because that, there's no risk. There's no danger to his life. But Steamboat, he'll put himself at risk to save people. He'll do things to help without having any superpowers. He can die. He can get killed. He can get shot. And he would suffer real consequences. And to me, that's much more the hero than Captain Marvel. I thought, so I kind of liked Steamboat as a character. Now, Steamboat has he's a black character, and that's why Reggie was kind of a little bit against the whole Steamboat character. And it was one of those characters that actually a lot of people asked for that character to be removed. And the reason they asked for him to be removed was he had a lot of the stereotypical features that black characters did in the comics back then. And also he spoke with like sort of the colloquial, maybe not the way black people actually speak, but maybe the way white people think black people speak. So, a little bit, I wouldn't say it's racist because it was not intended to be racist. That the fact that people kind of make that assumption about it, I really think is wrong. But, so all of that, and I was basically defending it and explaining it. And Reggie actually contacted me direct. And we chatted on Instagram. And I was explaining that I really love that history, good or bad. And, and I think that it's a lot of the time it's misunderstood, and we are way too sensitive now. But he was way too sensitive. He thought of me just as this complete white supremacist evil guy, and I really hope that I'd love to have the chance to be on his channel to really address that with him and really explain my love of history and the good and bad of it, and really address some of these things where people maybe are being too sensitive and maybe seeing things with a modern view when they really should kind of be more understanding of the past. And I just love to have that opportunity to kind of correct the record with Reggie. So Reggie collects, his channel is massive. He's like he's like here, and I'm like way down here. He's like a really great guy, but I just have this high respect for the guy, and I just wish that he didn't think I was a total idiot. So I'd love to have a chance to kind of fix that with him. Okay, so another channel that actually that brought me into that whole like argument was Jerno's Comics and Pop Culture. I think it's Pop Culture. And Jerno, it's Chris at Jerno's Comics, I believe. He has a really great channel. He does a lot of these things where he looks at hot comics, and he does a lot of these things where he talks about the political stuff, and he talks about, you know, all this stuff that's happening in modern comics. And, you know, that was what actually inspired me to make the video that actually got me in trouble with Reggie. So, you know, I'd love to just talk about stuff because Jerno is actually interesting. He is one of those people that won't just say things and, you know, and it's all about feelings. He'll actually put like a reasonable argument, you know, for why he made that position. And I really respect that. You know, I'm more of an analytical guy than a feelings, facts over, you know, it's facts over feelings for me. And I really respect that. And I'd love to have that kind of debate where, you know, he might see the progressive stuff as being a little bit more, you know, useful. I might not agree with that. And I think it would be great to have that kind of civil discussion about these kind of topics in and around the modern comics. And I'm always open to that, where I don't expect everyone to agree with everything I say on my channel. And, you know, I'd just love to have that civil conversation. Like we're adults. Really, we are. And we got to start acting like adults and just be able to talk about things in an adult manner. So I think Jerno is the kind of guy that would have that, you know, intelligent and adult conversation. I just really appreciate his videos in general. So I'd love to be on his channel or him on my channel and have that kind of discussion. So the next one is another really, really big channel. Is Very Gary Comics. And he's actually the last on my list. This is so number 12 on my list. And Very Gary is like, you know, just a cool guy. I just think he does these videos where he drives out to buy some collection, and then he shows himself like going through the collection, and you see all this like 90s crap. It's like, but then you'll find some really, you know, gems in it, and you'll just end up with these massive collections. And then there was one video where I really appreciated his work and dedication to, you know, to the whole being a vendor for comics, where basically he showed his garage, and it was just like all like these long boxes filled with comics, and he had like them all sorted out into, these ones need to be sorted out, these ones are sorted and junk. And then just had it all kind of like sorted out in this just massive collection of comics. And I could see that there was just so much time required to go through these collections that he's picking up. And, you know, you think, oh, you know, he's making big money where he's paying a buck a comic, but there's just the amount of time that you have to put in to make it all work out. You can see that it's, you know, the margins aren't as big as it might seem. So I appreciate that he gives that insight into the whole comic buying and selling process. So I really enjoy his videos. And he'll do a lot of these CGC unboxings as well, which are always interesting, where he shows that he guesses the grade and stuff like that. I enjoy that. So those are all the channels. It was a lot. It was a big, long list. I hope that maybe some of my subscribers will help me in my goal of being on those channels, and maybe put the good word in for me, give them a nudge to maybe do a collaboration video with me. So again, this was my attempt, my very weak attempt, but hopefully a appealing attempt to get some of these channels to collaborate with me. I'd love to do collaboration videos with all these channels. And if you have a channel that you want to collaborate with me, I'd love that too. I'm open to collaborate with people. I really want this community, which is the comic community, to really grow. And I'd love to have that kind of tight-knit family feel, where it is truly a community. So anything that I can do to help that, I'm more than willing to do this. This is my passion slash hobby. So it's like, it's something that I truly enjoy, and I love talking about comics. So thanks for everyone for watching. Please help me do this push to get these channels to collaborate with me. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to my channel. And if you put your comments below, maybe mention some channels that you think I should collaborate with. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again. Bye.